Breanna Stewart stood at that podium after the game and said something that every single person in that room already knew. She said there were calls that could have gone their way. She said it carefully, she said it diplomatically. She said it the way someone says it when they know that saying it too loudly gets you fined. But what she meant, and what everyone watching this video is going to understand completely by the 10-minute mark, is that the WNBA's officiating apparatus handed this game to the Las Vegas Aces on a silver platter in a one-possession game with 18 seconds left on the clock. This is the story of a league that has decided one player is too important to let lose by the rules that apply to everybody else, and that player is not Breanna Stewart. Breanna Stewart is the wronged party here. The player getting the preferential treatment, the player who the officials have apparently decided is the asset worth protecting at all costs, the golden goose, the commodity that must never be allowed to fail, is A'ja Wilson. And the institution enabling every single bit of it is the WNBA's own officiating office, which at this point has become less of a neutral arbitration body and more of a personal concierge service. Stay with me, because by the time we are done here, you are going to understand exactly who benefits from this arrangement, exactly what it costs the league long term, and exactly why Breanna Stewart, one of the best players on the planet, had to stand in front of cameras and choose her words like she was defusing a bomb.
We lost, we lost by 5, and there's things that we could have done different, and there's calls that could have gone our way.
Yeah, there's definitely calls.
There are things that we could have done different, and there are calls that could have gone our way. I want you to sit with that for a second. That is Breanna Stewart, a two-time WNBA champion, a finals MVP, an Olympic gold medalist, one of the most accomplished players in the history of this sport, and she is standing at a microphone, choosing every single syllable with surgical precision because she knows that the moment she says what she actually means, the league office comes down on her like a ton of bricks. That is not a player venting. That is a player navigating a system that has made it professionally dangerous to tell the truth out loud. Now let me tell you what the truth is. Let me lay out what actually happened in this game, because the facts here are not complicated. The New York Liberty and the Las Vegas Aces are playing a competitive game. It is a one-possession game. There are 18 seconds left on the clock. 18 seconds. That is not garbage time. That is not a blowout. That is a moment where every single call matters enormously, where the difference between a possession and no possession is the difference between winning and losing. And in that moment, that precise, irreplaceable, season-defining moment, the WNBA's officials look at a ball that came off A'ja Wilson's hands, a ball that A'ja Wilson herself knew was out on her, and they point it the other way. They call it out on New York. And here is the number I need you to lock into your brain right now, because we are going to come back to it. A'ja Wilson, in this game, shot 11 free throws. 11. And that is not an aberration. That is not a one-night anomaly. According to what we are seeing, game after game after game, Wilson is getting to the line at a rate that defies any reasonable basketball explanation. 11, 12, 13, 14 free throws per game. That is the payoff stat. That is the number that tells you everything you need to know about what is happening here. 11 plus free throws per game. Remember that number. Now let me tell you why this matters beyond just one bad call on one Tuesday night. Because what we are watching is not a referee making a mistake under pressure. What we are watching is a pattern. And patterns do not happen by accident. Patterns are the product of a system that has decided, consciously or otherwise, that certain outcomes are more valuable than others. Think about it this way. Imagine you are a restaurant owner. You have one chef, just one, who is the reason anybody walks through the door. Every food critic in the city writes about this chef. Every reservation in your book is because of this chef. And now imagine that instead of protecting the integrity of the kitchen, instead of making sure the food is actually as good as it can be, you start tipping the scales. You start letting the chef skip steps. You start letting the chef cut corners that nobody else is allowed to cut. And at first it seems fine. The chef still produces. The restaurant still fills up. But what you have actually done is hollowed out the entire product. You have built a house of cards. Because the moment that chef is gone, the moment that chef retires, or gets injured, or simply ages out, you have nothing left. No integrity, no credibility, nothing but a reputation for being the place where the rules did not apply. That is what the WNBA is doing right now. And by doing, I mean systematically dismantling the competitive credibility of its own product in real time. If you are finding this breakdown valuable, please subscribe to WNBA X-Tier and hit the bell notification right now so you do not miss any of our coverage going forward. We are on this story every single day, now. Let us talk about the specific failure in this specific incident, because I do not want this to get lost in the big picture. The play is clear, the footage is clear. You can watch it from every angle, and the conclusion is the same. The ball came off A'ja Wilson. Wilson herself reacted the way a player reacts when they know the ball is off them. There was no Liberty player close enough to have touched it. The call was wrong. Not wrong in the way that a 50-50 call goes against you. Wrong in the way that a call is wrong when it should not even be a conversation. And this happened with 18 seconds left, in a one-possession game. Let me be completely clear about what that means in basketball terms. A possession in the final 18 seconds of a one-possession game is potentially the entire game. It is not a minor detail. It is the whole thing. The Liberty needed that possession. They did not get it. The Aces got it instead, and the Aces won by 5. Now, what is fascinating, and by fascinating I mean absolutely infuriating, is that this is not the first time we have had this conversation. This is not the first time we have sat here and watched a call go A'ja Wilson's way in a moment that did not make basketball sense. The pattern is the pattern, and the pattern is 11 plus free throws per game, every game, consistently, at a rate that analysts have noticed, that fans have noticed, that Breanna Stewart has clearly noticed, even if she has to talk around it at a press conference to avoid a fine.
Chris, you guys are giving up the most threes this month, and they shot 46% from deep.
The Aces shot 46% from deep in this game. 46%. That is a number that tells you the Liberty's perimeter defense had a rough night and the Aces were hot from 3. Now, I am not going to sit here and pretend the Liberty played a perfect game. They did not. Breanna Stewart herself acknowledged that there were things her team could have done differently. That is what a professional sounds like. That is what accountability looks like. But here is what I need every single person watching this to understand. Accountability works both ways. When a player makes a mistake, we analyze it, we break it down, we hold them to a standard. And yet when the officials make a mistake, a clear, documented, on-camera, undeniable mistake in the final 18 seconds of a one-possession game, what happens? Nothing. There is no accountability. There is no review, there is no statement from the league office, there is just a loss on the Liberty's record and a win on the Aces record, and Breanna Stewart standing at a microphone choosing her words very, very carefully. And this is where it gets genuinely absurd. And by absurd, I mean genuinely catastrophic from a product integrity standpoint. Because the WNBA is at a moment right now where the eyes of the sports world are on it in a way they have never been before. New TV deals, new investment, new audiences discovering the game. This is the moment, this is the precise, irreplaceable moment where the league should be bending over backwards to demonstrate that its product is legitimate, that its officiating is credible, that when you watch a WNBA game, the outcome is determined by the players on the floor and not by the people with the whistles. And instead, we get this. It is like watching someone finally get invited to the big dinner party, the one they have been trying to get into for years, and then immediately spilling wine on the host carpet and insisting nothing happened. You had one job. And the officials blew it in the most visible possible way. Now let us talk about the enablers, because the officials do not operate in a vacuum. The officials answer to a chain of command, and that chain of command, at every level, has been conspicuously silent about the pattern we are describing. Every analyst who has ever studied how officiating works in professional basketball will tell you the same thing. Referees respond to institutional pressure over time. They are not robots, they are human beings operating inside a system. And if that system consistently signals, through its finding structure, through its public statements, through its patterns of review, that certain outcomes are more desirable than others, the referees will eventually start producing those outcomes. Not necessarily through deliberate corruption, but through the slow, unconscious drift of institutional incentive. The WNBA League Office is the primary villain in this story, not the individual referees, necessarily. The League Office, the institution that sets the tone. The institution that decides what gets reviewed and what gets swept under the rug. The institution that fines players for speaking too loudly about officiating while issuing zero public accountability for the officials themselves. That is the villain here. And the villain has been named 6 ways to Sunday by everyone who has been paying attention. And here is the worst of both worlds argument, the one that should terrify anyone who actually wants this league to grow. If you are going to give A'ja Wilson 11 plus free throws per game, if you are going to give her a possession in the final 18 seconds of a one-possession game that should not have been hers, you have to understand what you are trading away to do it. You are trading away the credibility of every Aces win. You are trading away the trust of every Liberty fan, every neutral fan, every new fan who tuned in because the product is supposed to be real. You are trading away the competitive drama that makes sports worth watching in the first place. Because sports only matter if the outcome is uncertain. The moment people believe the outcome is predetermined, they stop watching, they stop caring, and they definitely stop buying tickets. A'ja Wilson is a great player, let me say that clearly. She does not need this. She is talented enough, skilled enough, dominant enough to win games on her own merits. But the officials are doing her a disservice too, because every time a call like this gets made, every time she goes to the line 11, 12, 13, 14 times in a game, a portion of the audience looks at her accomplishments and wonders how many of them were earned and how many of them were handed to her. That is not fair to her, and it is entirely the fault of the officiating system that keeps putting her in that position.
Continuing to grow, I didn't know we were giving up the most threes, but we're just going to try to make tough contested shots.
I didn't know we were giving up the most threes, and there it is. That is Breanna Stewart being honest in real time. She did not know the Liberty were giving up the most threes in the league this month. She found out at the press conference. She processed it on camera. She did not deflect. She did not make excuses. She acknowledged it and immediately pivoted to what the team needs to do to fix it. That is what a leader sounds like. That is what a professional sounds like. That is what accountability looks like. Now contrast that with the WNBA officiating office. When was the last time you heard anyone from that institution stand up in front of cameras and say, "We got that wrong"? When was the last time the league office issued a statement saying the call with 18 seconds left in a one-possession game was incorrect and we're reviewing our process to ensure it does not happen again? I will wait, because I have been waiting and the silence is deafening. What is remarkable, and by remarkable I mean completely predictable at this point, is that the league office has essentially created a no-win situation for every player who wants to speak about officiating. When Breanna Stewart speaks carefully and diplomatically at a press conference, she is praised for being professional. But the actual substance of what she is saying, that calls went against her team in a game they should have had a chance to win, gets buried under the politeness of how she said it. And if she had said it directly, if she had said exactly what the footage shows, she gets fined. She gets labelled as a complainer, she gets the narrative turned against her. When she speaks carefully, the truth gets ignored. When she speaks directly, the truth gets punished. There is no version of this where she is allowed to simply tell the truth and have the institution respond with accountability. That is not a coincidence, that is a feature of the system. Let me bring in the money argument one more time, because I think this is the frame that actually matters to the people running this league. The WNBA is in the middle of a genuine commercial renaissance. New broadcast deals, expansion teams, sponsorship money flowing in at levels this league has never seen before. The product has never been more valuable. The asset, the collective asset of competitive, credible WNBA basketball has never been worth more on the open market. And that is precisely why what the officials did with 18 seconds left in this game is so damaging, because every dollar of that new investment is predicated on the assumption that the product is real, that the games are decided by the players. That when you tune in to watch a one-possession game in the final seconds, you are watching something genuine. The moment that assumption gets eroded, the moment enough fans start saying the fix is in, you do not just lose one game's worth of credibility. You lose the entire investment thesis, you lose the new audience, you lose the broadcast partners who signed up because they believed in the integrity of the product, and it all comes back to that number, 11 plus free throws per game. That is the number that should be generating questions at every level of this organization. Not because A'ja Wilson is not a physical player who draws contact, she is, but because 11 plus free throws per game, game after game, combined with a call like the one we saw with 18 seconds left, combined with the league officer's total silence on the matter, adds up to a pattern that no serious sports institution can afford to ignore.
Well, she didn't get back in the game until probably 5 minutes into the fourth. We had a lot of people putting pressure on the rim, and Pauline and Marine were playing.
Sabrina Ionescu did not get back into the game until 5 minutes into the fourth quarter. 5 minutes in a one-possession game that the Liberty needed to win. Now the coach has his reasons. He explained the rotations. He explained that other players were playing well. And that is a legitimate coaching conversation. But here is the thing. The Liberty were in that game for 40 minutes. They fought, they competed, they gave themselves a chance, as the coach himself said. And in the final 18 seconds, when they needed one possession to have a real shot at winning, the officials took it from them. That is the verdict. That is what this game came down to. Not Breanna Stewart's defense, not Sabrina Ionescu's shot selection, not the three-point defense that gave up 46% from deep. All of those things are real, and all of those things are things the Liberty can work on and fix. But you cannot fix a possession that the officials gave away in the final 18 seconds of a one-possession game. You cannot coach your way out of that. You cannot scheme your way out of that. You can only stand at a microphone afterward and say, very carefully, there are calls that could have gone our way. And here is my prediction. The league office will not issue a statement. The officials will not be publicly reviewed. The next time A'ja Wilson plays, she will go to the line 11 plus times, because that is the pattern, and the pattern does not change without institutional will to change it. Breanna Stewart will keep playing at an elite level, because that is what elite players do. They compete regardless of what the institution does to them, and the Liberty will keep fighting, because that is who they are. But the fans, the real fans, the ones who have been watching this league for years, and the new ones who just found it, they are going to keep noticing. They are going to keep watching the footage. They are going to keep counting the free throws, 11 plus per game. They are going to keep asking the question that the league office refuses to answer. Why? That is not hyperbole. That is not me hyping this up for clicks. That is simply the math. 11 plus free throws per game, one possession, 18 seconds, a 5-point loss. And a two-time champion standing at a microphone choosing every word like her career depends on it. Because apparently, in this league, it does. The WNBA has a credibility problem. And the credibility problem has a name. It is called the officiating office. And until that office is held to the same standard of accountability that it holds the players to, this conversation is not going away. It is only going to get louder. Here is what I want you to do right now. Drop your honest take in the comments below. Forced choice, yes or no? Are the WNBA officials deliberately tilting the floor for A'ja Wilson, or is this just the most consistent streak of coincidental bad luck in professional sports history? Yes or no? Drop it below, because I want to see where this community stands, and I want the league office to see it too. If you are not subscribed to WNBA X Terry yet, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on all notifications, bell icon, all notifications, so you do not miss a single video. We are covering every angle of this story as it develops, and trust me, it is developing fast. And click the video on your screen right now. We have got another breakdown that you do not want to miss. This is WNBA X Terry. We'll see you in the next one.
We lost, we lost by 5, and there's things that we could have done different, and there's calls that could have gone our way.
Yeah, there's definitely calls.
Chris, you guys are giving up the most threes this month, and they shot 46% from deep.
Continuing to grow, I didn't know we were giving up the most threes, but we're just going to try to make tough contested shots.
Well, she didn't get back in the game until probably 5 minutes into the fourth. We had a lot of people putting pressure on the rim, and Wnba were playing